creativity paradox is the idea that having more freedom doesn't always make you more creative. In fact, constraints can often spark greater innovation than total openness. At first, this sounds backwards. Shouldn't having unlimited options let your imagination run wild? But psychology, engineering, and art history all show that when boundaries are set, whether in time, resources, materials, or rules, people often come up with more original, effective solutions than when they can do anything at all. Why does this happen? One reason is that constraints focus attention. When the playing field is infinite, your mind can get lost in possibilities, leading to decision paralysis. A problem with limits forces you to work within a defined space, pushing you to explore its edges and find hidden possibilities. For example, Ernest Hemingway's spare writing style partly arose from a self-imposed rule to use short, simple sentences, a constraint that forced precision and emotional clarity. Similarly, in engineering, the Apollo 13 crew had to improvise a life-saving carbon dioxide filter using only materials available on their spacecraft. The severe limitation of resources turned necessity into ingenious invention. There's also a cognitive angle. Our brains are wired to look for patterns and shortcuts. Constraints create creative friction, a sense of urgency or challenge that prompts the mind to connect ideas in new ways. In music, for example, composing in a specific scale or meter forces you to play with rhythm, melody, and harmony more imaginatively than if you could choose any note at any time. In science, the challenge of working with limited funding or simple equipment has led to surprisingly elegant experiments, such as the early optical discoveries made with homemade lenses. Of course, not all constraints help. Too many, or the wrong kind, can stifle creativity by making a problem feel impossible. The paradox lies in finding the sweet spot. Enough limitation to sharpen focus and force unconventional thinking, but not so much that the problem becomes unsolvable. In this sense, constraints act like the frame of a painting. They give structure without dictating the content. So perhaps the next time you face a big creative challenge, you might add a constraint rather than remove one. Ask yourself, what if I only had one day? What if I could use only 5 ingredients? What if I had to explain this to a 10-year-old? These boundaries don't restrict your imagination, they redirect it into deeper, more inventive channels. And that's the paradox. By narrowing your options, you often expand your possibilities. The creativity paradox is the counterintuitive idea that limiting resources, tools, or options can actually enhance innovation rather than stifle it. While freedom is often assumed to be the best environment for creativity, unlimited choices can lead to decision fatigue and a lack of focus. Constraints, on the other hand, force individuals to reframe problems and find unconventional solutions. Psychological research shows that boundaries can act as catalysts for divergent thinking. This phenomenon is observed across art, science, engineering, and business. The 48-hour time limit in hackathons often results in surprisingly original software solutions. Constraints in creativity are like the walls of a riverbank. By narrowing the path, they make the current flow faster. Unlimited possibilities increase cognitive load, making it harder to evaluate ideas and commit to one direction. Constraints reduce the mental search space, allowing more mental resources to be devoted to refining and combining existing concepts. This heightened focus often leads to deeper exploration within the allowed boundaries. Neuroscientific studies suggest that problem-solving benefits from clear parameters, which activate goal-directed brain networks. Thus, limits can streamline cognitive processing toward creative breakthroughs. Writing a short story with a strict 500-word limit often produces more polished narratives than writing without a word count. It's like sculpting from a small block of marble. You focus more on every detail because material is scarce. In design thinking, constraints are often reframed as prompts rather than obstacles. They define the challenge space and inspire creative reframing of available resources. Forcing a new perspective can lead to solutions that wouldn't emerge under unconstrained conditions. In essence, limits provide a starting point for structured improvisation. This makes constraints an integral part of many innovation methodologies. Lego's fixed shapes encourage endless inventive constructions. A jazz musician improvises more creatively when limited to a single scale. Many groundbreaking innovations emerge from contexts where resources were limited. The Apollo 13 mission's life-saving carbon dioxide scrubber fix was improvised using only materials available on the spacecraft. In art, minimalism movements thrive on the deliberate removal of tools or complexity. Historical case studies suggest that necessity is often the mother of invention because it enforces efficiency. This pattern recurs in both crises and intentional constraint-based challenges. Picasso's Blue Period was partly driven by his limited paint palette at the time. It's like cooking a gourmet meal with whatever is left in the fridge. Constraints push creativity in unexpected directions. Rules act as a framework within which creativity can flourish, offering both guidance and challenge. In games, music, and literature, rules create tension and problem spaces that invite innovative approaches. The paradox is that while rules appear restrictive, they give meaning to the act of breaking or bending them. Creative mastery often comes from knowing how to exploit the structure. Without rules, the creative space may be too undefined to navigate effectively. Haiku poetry's strict 5-7-5-syllable structure has inspired centuries of inventive expression. It's like a chessboard. Its rules limit moves, but those very limits enable infinite strategies. Too much freedom can trigger anxiety from an overwhelming number of possibilities. Constraints reduce uncertainty by narrowing options, creating a safer space for experimentation. When people know the boundaries, they can take more confident creative risks within them. This security can lead to bolder, more unconventional choices. In this sense, limits can paradoxically expand the comfort zone for innovation. In theater, an improv game with strict scene rules often produces more laughter and originality than an open scene. Guardrails on a mountain road don't limit the journey, they let you drive faster without fear. Scarcity forces prioritization and the repurposing of available materials in novel ways. This can lead to the discovery of multi-purpose functions and hidden capabilities in existing tools. In engineering and science, limited funding or materials often inspire lean, elegant designs. Scarcity can also foster collaboration, as teams share and pool resources to meet challenges. Over time, these adaptive strategies can lead to breakthrough innovations. Early space missions reused existing rocket technology due to budget constraints, leading to creative engineering solutions. It's like building a treehouse with scrap wood. You invent new ways to make mismatched parts fit together. Many innovation frameworks intentionally introduce artificial limits to stimulate creative thinking. Time boxing, material restrictions, or thematic challenges push teams to focus and adapt quickly. This is common in hackathons, design sprints, and rapid prototyping workshops. Such constraints simulate real-world limitations, training problem solvers for high-pressure scenarios. The practice can build resilience and adaptability in addition to creative output. Google's 20% time policy is a form of time constraint that has led to products like Gmail. It's like training with ankle weights. Removing them later makes you feel faster and freer. Understanding the creativity paradox reshapes how organizations and educators design environments for innovation. Rather than eliminating all barriers, strategic constraints can be applied to focus energy and encourage ingenuity. This approach can also help manage resources efficiently while driving inventive outcomes. It blurs the line between limitation and empowerment, making constraints a design tool rather than a hindrance. In the future, constraint-based innovation may be central to solving complex global challenges with limited means. Humanitarian engineering often thrives under extreme constraints to deliver life-saving solutions in disaster zones. Constraints are like the frame of a painting. Without them, the picture can spill into chaos, but with them, it gains structure and impact.